to episode number 6, the Dave Risk. Is it the Dave Risk Show? It's not the Dave Risk Show. It's the, what's it called? The Risky Business Show with Dave Risk. And today we have Ahsan Rahman. I do believe...
yeah, it's close enough.
It's close.
There's
close.
many variations. I can live with that one.
I get a few variations on my last name as well.
How do you say that? Risk?
Well,
Risk?
I just say Risk, just to make
like
it
the game.
easy on people. But the official pronunciation would be Rizk.
Rizk. That's so much better.
Well, yeah, you know,
David
the heavier. It's the heavier, but the spelling leads to confusion, and then they're like,
oh, because it's missing the vowel at the end.
R-I-Z-K or Z-K. So it's like, so just Risk.
Rizk.
Make it
Rizk.
Americanized or Canadianized, but hey, man, happy to have you here today. Seriously, with me. Thank you very much. So. Let's just start simple. Like, so where are you from, and how did you get started? Eventually
playing rock and roll.
In rock and roll, yeah. Well, yeah.
Well,
where are you from originally?
Well, rock and roll is I just accidentally started playing rock, but I got into music when I was about 10. Then I discovered the Rolling Stones and the Beatles, the usual stuff. This is in the 70s.
Yeah.
So. I was completely obsessed with that for years, like millions of other people.
Sure.
And then one day I was in a school in England, and somebody handed me a guitar. I'd never played an instrument before. And that became an obsession. Like, I couldn't let go of this thing. I just took it home with me. It was from the school's music program or whatever.
Okay.
I just took it home. And I had kept it for almost 2 years, and I basically learned basic stuff, you know, how to play simple things, you know, mostly 3-chord songs, whatever.
Sure.
With no real teaching. I bought a book in a store and showed you how to finger things, you know.
Okay.
And that guitar basically fell apart.
Yeah.
Completely just disintegrated.
Do you remember the make of the guitar?
Yeah, it was like a Spanish guitar, like a no-name brand Spanish guitar.
Okay, all right,
and my first show, it was a Catholic boarding school. So I'm not a Catholic, but I was in that school. That's another story. How I ended up there, but I was in school and they had these Sunday sort of chapel sing-alongs, and the chords were basically, you know, simple chords, and my first gig was in that chapel, playing along to these singing bits.
Yeah.
And I had no idea of keys or how to tune the thing. I just played with my friend, and one time he wasn't there, and I had no idea, so I would just follow him. And I started playing, and then the teacher, one of the teachers going, you gotta stop, you're in the wrong key. You're completely, stop. Okay, just sat there, all right. Praise Jesus. Man.
All right, sure, all right.
It was funny.
Take the cue.
But, you know, I had no formal training. I had no idea how music works or...
Yeah, but you wanted to play.
Yeah, I just liked doing it.
Yeah.
And ended up, I went to McGill. I came here to go to school. That's how I ended up in Montreal.
Okay.
And in the last year of my school, I met some people that were local rock and roll types, or trying to be.
Right.
All trying.
Well.
And this guy, I met him, and we became very good friends. And then he introduced me to some other people, and we started jamming. And the thing with the guitar was that I'm still not very good. I just know a few basic things, you know what I mean? But I like making up stuff, songs and riffs and things like that, you know?
Yeah.
So that I really like doing that, probably more than, lately I've been playing a lot of guitar, but back then it was more about writing the stuff and just playing as much live as I could. So which is where you really learn how to play in front of people.
Right. So you started writing songs and gigging a little bit at the same time, like pretty much right away.
Yeah.
Wow,
within 6 months.
With
6 months of falling.
6 months.
Because the goal was I don't want to be doing this for fun. I mean, in the room, I want to get in front of people, and we did. And we still do. Not as much as we used to, but because COVID's terrible for shows. You know?
Yeah, well,
but,
let's hope it
so
away,
it's going away. We're doing our second show since the world ended.
Yeah.
And came back. Next week. We played in July, I think it was, and July, and we're going to play again next week.
Cool.
Which is good.
And that is going to be at...
Barfly, November 4th, part of the 25th anniversary shindigs. Lasts like a week.
And because this episode might air prior to November 4th, or not prior, post, Any other gigs possibly lined
Not
up?
not at this moment.
Not at this
No.
moment, but you can often be found at Barfly
Yeah,
and a
hanging
few
about.
other luminary spots
Yeah.
in
Oh,
Montreal.
for playing shows?
Yeah.
Yeah. Barfly, Bistro Paris is a good one.
Yeah.
But yeah, pretty much that. Because I forget where else we played. We were supposed to play Hemisphere Gauche, but that fell apart.
So
This weekend.
so your band Ashtray Heart was formed exactly 28 years
Yeah,
ago?
1994. Yeah, and I formed it with a couple of people. Tony, do you know Tony LaBelle?
I do not.
Okay, he's a drummer. He's very good, but I formed the band with him. A couple other people, you probably don't know them. And we had a second guitar player at the time. We were 4 people.
Uh-huh.
But our local ended up being, we tried a few locals, ended up in the room we were just talking about before, the small space.
Yeah.
We couldn't fit him in there, like metaphorically as well as physically in the room, because he was an artist more than a musician, even though he was okay. And he gave us a song that nobody wanted to play,
Uh-oh.
and he got upset and quit.
So you got the
Yeah.
you got the axe.
Well, I mean, we tried it, but it was obvious it was a very different style. It
Yeah.
wasn't a bad song. It was more like a '70s heartbreaker style.
Sure,
Johnny
sure.
Thunder. He was a big Johnny Thunders fan. He actually
Okay.
played with Johnny Thunders once in Winnipeg or something.
Oh, okay.
Nice guy, but it was just we were crazier. It was more like a mad, frenetic,
Sure.
much faster.
Sure.
So he felt it wasn't his place or something, and he left.
So you got into pretty heavy music after, I guess, the Stones and the Beatles, considering
Well-
what you're playing today. What other bands were like influencing you back
well,
in
in
the
the
day?
80s when I was
Yeah.
a kid, it was Iron Maiden. I used to have a couple of cassettes. And I think Black Sabbath was Heaven and Hell. I used to have that one.
Oh yeah.
Deep Purple was a big one.
Yeah.
Zeppelin. That was like the heavier stuff I
Yeah.
was into. I didn't know much about punk rock, really, till much later. It was like the late 80s. I discovered Clash and all that. Even though somebody gave me London Calling in 1980 and I didn't get into it. I just wasn't ready for that. I wasn't that kid. It was like more Beatles, Stones, that kind of stuff. Which is fine, eventually come around to it. But what really got me going for heavy music was I saw Jane's Addiction once live, and it was insanely fun.
Oh yeah.
It was so fun, because the guy that sings in that band is Perry Farrell. That guy was really funny, and it wasn't so dark and morose and like heavy music tends to be and such pretentious.
Interesting.
It was really fun, and it was funny, and it was like a good time. And it was nuts, and I go, oh, this is cool. I can get into this if it music
Like the
yeah,
good
the
time,
vibe of
the
it.
positive good time vibe.
Yeah, it was like because
Yeah.
the metal
High
stuff.
energy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's the same. It had the rock and roll element,
Sure.
which is what I'm into.
Yeah.
The funness of it, the high
Yeah.
energy. It's like it had it, and I was
big-
like, I can play heavier riffs and I can do this.
Yeah.
And then all the grunge stuff happened, and which I'm not really into grunge per se, but I did like one band that I really liked at the time. I saw them accidentally on television, some music show, Mudhoney.
Oh
Because
sure.
Mudhoney was just this. They play garage rock and roll, but it's fuzzed out to the nth degree, and it's just funny and fun, and they had some good songs. I saw them live too. It was great.
Never
It was
saw
like
them. Never saw
that
them.
kind of stuff. But that was how I got into the whole punk rock. Just loud guitars on 10, everybody's screaming and yelling.
Right on. Right on.
That kind of stuff.
Right on.
But over the years, it all comes together. Like everything kind of
Sure. And
tumbles around in your head.
and so you've recorded
yeah.
a lot,
Well, I don't.
somewhat.
4 albums.
Four albums. Right.
Yeah, one of them was done in a studio. The rest of them is just I made it up in our basement.
Well, isn't that kind of like the studio?
Yeah, because I learned because the first time I went to the studio was with a record label and all that stuff, and it was kind of like a waste of time because the guy had no idea what to do with us. But so we dumped them. But the experience taught me that first, it's expensive to record,
Yeah.
and if you can figure it out for yourself, do it yourself. And it doesn't, we weren't going to be like this huge band touring stadiums. That wasn't the point. The point was you should make a recording of what you do, regardless of how much you suck. Just make it so it's, it's proof, a legacy of what you did.
Lay it down, record it.
So figure it out. So I started with 4 tracks, and there's an entire album of our first album, which was released 2001. that was recorded in our studio, but I had a 4-track version of all the songs, which I like more than the actual studio version. It was messier, crazier, more fun.
The
and just
energy.
yeah, it was a bit more dirty and improvised and had that lo-fi thing going for it.
Yeah.
Nobody wanted to put it out. Like, fine, fuck that. So, I put it out much later. I put it out, like a freebie on our Bandcamp site.
Cool.
But then I bought a recording machine, like a Tascam 688, a cassette 8-track, and I had the 464, the manual there, that one, which I upgraded right away because I thought, well, 4 is not enough. 4 is like really a demo thing. It doesn't. So 8 I could work with. So 8 I would record on the machine, do as much tracks as I could, bring it to my house and dump it onto the computer and work with like some basic software, like Audacity. I made 2 albums with Audacity.
Fantastic.
Which is a simple thing. Again, the point wasn't to make like Sgt. Pepper or something. It was just to make it so I can hear the songs back.
Yeah.
And you put those out, and I eventually ended up with a digital recorder, like a Tascam, which I still use. I bought it a few years ago. Great sound, man. Those things do not suck.
Yeah, we were talking about that before. Just the quality of some of these little gizmos, man. It's
about this
crazy.
Big. Convenient. You don't have to bring the machine back, because with the old machine, I had to bring it home, the whole thing, to play it back to the computer.
Now it's what, an SD card?
The SD card, you dump it onto Reaper, and you can do whatever you want. Whatever sound sucks in my recordings, it's me. It's not the technology. It's literally, you learn slowly how to get better at it, and when you realize the difference a good microphone makes, you get that microphone.
They say that it all starts at the source of a signal. So your source sound, and then step by step the chain go up the line in quality of components, but it really does start with the source itself. So you got to feed something into the system.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I bought, again, I start cheap, right? Because I don't want to invest too much money and then realize that I don't want to do this. And you're stuck with a bunch of crappy gear you can't even sell. So I started out very cheap, like buying cheap microphones, drum mic kits that cost $150 on eBay, made in China or whatever.
Yeah.
And you start with that, and you make recording, and you listen to it, and you realize, okay, well, what's the difference between this microphone and a Shure microphone for a kick drum that's like $250, for example, which is not a lot of money for a microphone, but for me it is, because I'm not a professional recording person.
Yeah.
So I bought it. Oh yeah, there is a difference.
Oh yeah,
there's a huge difference. It's worth the $200 to spend on it.
That's it.
So you slowly, over the years, add stuff.
Invest. Yeah, it's an investment at that point.
One little
it's
thing
like, all right, I need a good kick drum mic.
Yeah.
I can't get around. I need to get this $250 mic. Okay, bite the bullet.
Yeah,
and just go step by step like that.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Add to
and
your
I bought
to your
Tom
studio.
microphones, Shure again, like $100 a piece, something like that, and eventually end up with a drum mic'd properly.
Oh yeah.
As well as I can do it in our space, because there's no separation. I don't really care about separation because we're not that band. Everything is everywhere, But you get that sound, and then you work with that, so you get better at it. But your ears educate themselves to what you're listening for. And I've also realized that the best thing about recording is time. If you have the time to record yourself all the time, because you're in a studio, you're paying by the hour or whatever, and you're under the gun, and you don't always get the best performance. You may get a okay performance.
Yeah.
But with my band, the way we play, we're, not every day is a great day for us. We just, play. But you got to keep recording, so once in a while...
You catch the gold.
Yeah, you catch that magic little moment where nobody makes a mistake. It's not about not making a mistake, it's about the feeling.
The flow, the
how
feel,
the thing rocks,
the energy.
or it doesn't.
Yeah.
How do you felt when you did it? And you can feel it. Oh, this is the one, this is the one.
You know it when it...
I hope I don't fuck it up till I get to the end, Especially the drums, because I can fuck up, even though I don't want to, but if he fucks up, the drummer fucks up, then it's done. You can't fix that.
The drums are the foundation.
Yeah, so he is incredibly focused when he records, and he very rarely makes
your drummer's name again?
Pat Ross.
A phenomenal drummer, and the bass player.
Alan Glashan, phenomenal musician, all-around guitar. He's actually a guitar player, but he plays bass like a motherfucker. So.
Full disclosure, I've known Alan also for 30 years.
Yeah.
Phenomenal musician, absolutely.
I've been very lucky. I can say that they put up with me in a way that most people probably wouldn't. Especially Alan, because He's been in and out of the band a few times for his reasons, but he always comes back and he plays. It's like, you know, he's been with us for 15 years, and Pat's been since 1999, 22 years.
Yeah.
And he left briefly for 6 months, and he came back because it was boring. The band he was, it's like, because he's a very energetic person and he needs to play high energy music. It's just how he's wired. And with us, he gets to do that, and it challenges him. Like it doesn't,
Cool.
it's not, you know,
Yeah,
easy for a drummer to play.
No,
stuff.
there's a lot of odd time stuff. I mean, I don't want to get into full descriptions, I guess, but it's intense. It's odd time sometimes. It's quirky, but it all kind of flows,
Yeah,
which is the thing.
There's a rock and roll element.
Yeah.
We're not a prog band ever, but there are certain.
It doesn't feel disjunct or like it's just like
Right.
weird part. It is weird sometimes, but there's a flow to it all that's and intense. Again, Pat on the drums,
Yeah.
like very like this machine driving it. Like,
Yeah, the thing with Pat is like I found him. He used to be in a band called Monsieur Toad back in the '90s, which is a Quebec francophone band, pretty good. And our first drummer left to get married and get a start a new business and all that stuff. So he was like didn't have time for us. So we put ads out to find a drummer. We got, you know, people that just didn't work out. And then finally ran into a friend of mine who played, you know what Chapman stick is?
Sure, yeah.
This guy played the Chapman stick.
Okay.
His name was Olivier. And he's like,
I know.
You know Olivier?
Yeah.
That's the guy, man. He goes, listen, I know your band. Let me write the ad for you in French. Oh. Okay. So he writes the ad for us in French and he gives it to me and I put it in the voir.
Yes.
I don't know if that paper is still around. Probably.
It is not. They're all gone now.
Oh, they're all gone? Okay,
Yeah.
well, that was the paper. So I put it out, and I got a call the same day, the Thursday it appeared. It was Pat. Yeah, so I saw your ad. I'm interested. I'll come by. You have a tape? Like, sure. And he comes to my house. I give him a cassette, like my 4-track crap.
Yeah.
He leaves, and I get a call half an hour later. Yeah, I want to join your band. Okay. So he shows up, and he brings his shit over the same weekend, and
That's
we
it.
loaded in, and he's been there ever since, pretty much. Except
it.
for one moment of whatever doubt that he had. I should try something else. So he joined this band called Absolute, which is like a stonery, mid-tempo band. And he came back after 6 months because he missed playing with us. So, but when he came back, he was better because when you play slower, your time has to be almost like dead on. You can't fuck around, man.
Yeah.
He was better for it. He came back
Cool.
and he a bit more disciplined, understood the beauty of playing a little slower.
All right.
And the off-time stuff, when we first started, there was a lot of that running around, But not lately, it's pretty straight up, rock and roll.
Pretty straightforward.
Yeah, bits and pieces.
Yeah, Al had mentioned that there was, and I have heard like some of the more bluesier even stuff that you were doing, almost touching on the blues really.
Yeah, a little bit.
Little bluesy.
I fake it. It's like I can fake country, I can fake blues. I can't fake jazz. It's too hard to fake. You can't really fake that. It's so hard.
Yeah, I've been trying to fake it for 30 years now. So I don't know if I don't know if I've convinced anyone yet. But
yeah, but I like listening to it. The thing with music is like it's not like I want to learn jazz for the sake of learning. I hear sounds I like. Like I listen to Charlie Parker, and Charlie Parker, I don't understand what's going on in those tunes.
a lot is going.
But there's a lot going, and I'm not gonna get into the history. I mean, it's so well documented.
Yeah.
But I like it.
Yeah.
I want to learn how he did that. Like, what is that? Why is he doing that? What's the logic of it? I mean, that's how it starts, and
This is well.
I
I think you hit on the exact key phrase. What is this, and why does it sound like that?
Yeah.
When I was coming up learning guitar, put on albums, listen to albums, and try and pick out stuff. I had teachers. I was learning, but
Right.
I was learning a lot by ear. And some stuff I'd want to learn from beginning to end. A lot of Jimi Hendrix stuff.
Right.
I love Jimmy, so I learned a lot of Jimmy. But I wouldn't learn everything note by note or solos. I learned mostly the songs, and I just want to get a feel for how, whether it's Jimmy or another guitar player, how does he approach the thing?
Right.
But mainly, if I heard something that piqued my ear, I would want to learn it, but I would want to understand the theory behind it. Why why is it that when he plays this note or this series of notes over these chords or this chord, why does it sound a certain way?
Right.
So you make understanding the theoretical links between either the melody or the solo and the chords, and that's what kind of got me. So the why, understand, because it's one thing to just pick off a solo, which is good. You know, when you're starting off, you need to, I guess, get a certain bag together and just learn stuff, which is fine. But then the understanding, the deep, that was my thing. It's like, if I could understand it, then I won't need to learn any solo. I'll be able to make make up my solo because I understand that this note over this chord gives me this feeling.
Yeah.
And
it's the feeling. You nail it, because ultimately you want to feel what you feel when you hear it, when you play it back, or that way, right? You want to feel, because that's the whole point.
Yeah.
If you're not feeling it, I ain't doing it. It's not going to happen. You know?
Yeah.
And you can't force yourself to learn something. I never do that. I hear something I like, and I think, well, maybe I could learn a bit of what that is. And that's how it starts, right? I mean, Charlie Parker is an extreme example of somebody who's so technically brilliant and a musical genius that is unassailable. You know what I mean? It's like so far away from my level of proficiency. But I did learn bits and pieces of his song. And the thing was, I learned, I play it very badly still, but Donna Lee, that tune.
Okay.
And I learned how to open the first 3 bits that I learned. And just doing that, it was like another world.
Yeah.
Another world that I don't understand at all.
Yeah.
But I'm looking into it. I'm peeking into this world where it's so incredibly beautiful. And the way it works together.
Yeah.
And but I don't understand the chords and all that stuff, because that's another world of pain. I've not approached
more
like
theory.
Yeah, I'm playing it, and I can play it, and I hear the breakdowns of each little phrase, and each little phrase could be a song by itself that you can mess around with and go from there. And I was like, well, this is endless. And I've learned like 3 bits in that song. Like,
I think
wow,
that's the other key word you said. It's endless. Once you start breaking down harmony and what you could do with it, and you hear guys like Parker and the list and the list of guys, you do realize that there's an infinite possibility of things, but at a really an insanely high level mathematical complexity of options. And to have all of these sort of it's a little formulas going in your head. Well, I don't say formulas because depends where you are as a player. Some people have lines that they sort of stick to their lines, and it's their solos, their improvised solos really are not that improvised. They're semi-improvised.
Yes, I know what you mean.
So they have a bunch of licks and stock things, and yeah, they might go out here and there, but
well, eventually
that's
an exercise you do to get proficient, and you run hands, learn where to go. But eventually, if you get any good, your own voice will start to come out.
That's
you
the idea.
You will have little things you're going to do that nobody else can do.
That's the
you
idea.
Made that up. That's where you end up, right?
That's the idea.
And there is a continuity to all these guitar players. I mean, I love the Rolling Stones. I mean, that's basically why I even play music, because I could approach that music and learn bits and pieces and whatever. But the Stones, I mean, especially Keith Richards, it comes from Chuck Berry.
Yes.
That he's like a Chuck Berry master. And I think sometimes to do Chuck Berry better than Chuck Berry, it's a strange thing to say, but it's true. They have a thing going on with 2 guitars that is another world of stuff that they do.
Yeah.
With Brian Jones and even Ron Wood, it's like something else. It's very special.
It's fun. It's fun. I saw them once.
Right, I've seen them 6 times. And it's real, man. They play like a band. There's no regurgitation. They where are we again? And after half an hour, they kind of realize where they are, and then they start playing, and every show is different.
Wow,
they play their licks. They just fuck around with their songs they played for 50 years, but they do it differently. And there's always little things you pick out.
Which is super cool if you're a fan and you're actually going to shows.
Yeah, they play music. They play, it's not, I mean, there's a showbiz element to it, too. They're playing to 20, 30,000 people, whatever.
Sure.
It's a show, but if you listen to the music, it's very musical. It's endless. There's a lot of fun going on in the playing, But to go back to Chuck Berry, if you listen to Chuck Berry's stuff, started learning his licks and little things that he does, it goes back to T-Bone Walker.
Indeed.
Because in T-Bone Walker, those licks are there. They're different contexts. They're blues, jump blues, whatever. But those licks are there. Listen to Charlie Christian. Charlie Christian is another level of beauty. It's ridiculous how good he is. And he invented that. You know, he made it what it is. But Charlie Christian does licks that are Chuck Berry licks. They're there. The little freaking things. I don't know what to call them. I can play them. But I'm like, man, this is a Chuck Berry lick. This is on, you know, some Johnny Beacon. You know, those little fucking runs. And it's like, so there's a content because they picked it out, they, you know, and they put it somewhere else and they made it. It never ends. You know.
And that's another great point is I think for anyone who's into guitar and listening is today obviously guitar has progressed so much.
Yeah.
We're so far things have fractured in so many crazy directions, but the proficiency and the technical abilities have also gone through the roof. You see the videos of these kids that are I mean, I don't even know what to call them.
Yeah, I mean, they learn early and they're really good.
Prodigy, with the help of the internet, they're born with, they have parents that are musicians. Here you go, kid, stick them in front of YouTube, and 2-3 years, and they're totally killing it.
And it's everywhere.
And it's happening around the world. But just to finish on that point, it is always good to go backwards in time and say, well, you like a certain guitar player. Who did he listen to, and who did he listen to, and who did he listen to? And that's, I think, really the true way to get to understand it deeply, and also to respect what's going on, to respect past history. And
the thing with the Stones is like they play roots music, basically blues, R&B, 50s style, Chicago stuff. But there's a continuity in their music. It goes back. You can't really go back with the Beatles because the Beatles are their own thing and that's it. And they do covers and things.
Yes.
But they don't have that connection to this whole other world of music that passed 50 years since the turn of the century, since people started recording themselves. But the Stones have that kind of, see, when you start listening to that stuff, you start going back and back and back into the blues, into the jazz stuff.
Yes.
That's how I got into listening to blues and jazz, because not as a player, as a listener, as a fan.
Through the Stones.
Yeah, because it starts going back. And you start reading about it. Who's this cat? Who's that guy?
Yeah.
Who's Alan Wolf? You know, who's Robert Johnson? Who's Louis Armstrong? If you hear Hot Fives and Sevens from the 20s, it's crazy stuff, man.
It is.
It's bonkers.
It is.
It's like, I mean, I can't imagine the world where the person never heard that for the first time, and went, what the hell just happened?
Turn of the century music.
You know what I mean? Or Ellington.
Yeah, well.
Duke Ellington, man. I'm a big fan of Duke Ellington. Mingus, too. But Duke Ellington has that space in the music, especially the stuff he did in the 50s, because he could get longer playing records, he could flesh out his arrangements that were written in the 20s and 30s for the most part. But if you listen to Ellington in the 50s, man, he's got the proper studio, and the recordings are beautiful. Listen to Blues in Orbit, for example. It literally is Blues in Orbit. It's space.
Yeah.
But that vibe, man, it's something else.
He's the grand...
The holding back the sound, just letting it out in little pieces. You know?
Very classy. I mean, very elegant dude and composer. I mean, there's so much great music, and it's great to hear you saying all these things. Also, for people that maybe feel that you should be this or you should be that. You know, it's okay to listen to all kinds of music and not say I'm a punk rocker and I listen to jazz, or I'm a jazzer and I listen to metal. It's all good. It's all music.
Yeah.
If you like it.
You shouldn't have too many rules for yourself. I mean, there's nothing to be gained by saying, I'm into this, so I can't be into that. Like,
well, it's the high school thing, I guess. You know,
tribalism,
the tribalism, and
that's okay. That's fine.
And I guess it's normal when you're in high school, because I guess I was a little bit of that. In high school I was a rock guy. I started off in rock and roll, and I had no exposure to other things, so I hung out with people who liked the same things that I did.
Right.
But you had all the clans, the alternative people, and it's like, okay, then they dress in black, alternative, pre-goth.
Right. Yeah.
Pre-goth.
Well, you're absolutely right. It's part of your personality.
But some people don't get out of that.
Yeah.
They identify it with a movement or a group, And it's like, no, I'm me. I could like whatever I want.
Yeah.
So that's a good point to bring up. What else now? So big projects coming up or anything
Yeah.
coming up?
Well, projects. Finishing up 3 new songs that we started before COVID happened. So
Right
we're
on.
probably going to have some decent takes finally, because we write very slow. Sometimes songs come together like that, it's just done, and sometimes it takes flipping years.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I'm just unhappy with it. It's just
Yeah.
I'm overthinking it. It's too boring and too long. It's too many words. I'm very, very critical of myself, and I think you should be.
Yeah. Right
You
on,
know,
right on. Yeah.
just not to the point where it paralyzes you, but you know what's
Yeah.
a good, and you don't feel it, it ain't done. You know, once I know, okay, this song is done. I can't subtract or add to it to make it better than what it is. It's done. Which doesn't mean it's good. It just means it's over. I'm done with this.
Yeah.
I'm not going back to the same.
There is a point where every piece of artwork you have to put an end to
Yeah.
it and say, okay, it's done. Stop.
Right.
Because you could
Because you can
just
fiddle
keep
about it.
going
You can
forever.
You can get all
And
anal
then-
about it. It's like,
and then you're in the old analysis equals paralysis situation, and like nothing ever gets
Yeah.
out because it's never perfect enough. And
Right.
so
Well, I just wait
you do
till,
have to let
till
it.
I'm comfortable with it.
Well, yeah.
Comfortable in the sense that I can perform in front of people and not embarrass myself or feel like, oh God, I cringe. I shouldn't have done that. You know.
Oh no, you got
That's when you realize, okay, it needs work, or stop doing it, or leave it alone for a bit, come back to it when it's got its legs or whatever.
Well, your band totally rocks big time, man.
Thanks, man.
And look forward to seeing you live again. I hope to make it up on the 4th.
Yeah, November 4th, Thursday with Dead Messenger.
Dead Messenger,
Yes.
right on, right on, right on. So on that note, we'll end it here and let's jam.
Cool, let's do it.
All right, man.
Bye.
Thanks. Charlie. That's it.
All right. Hope that was okay.
That was all right, man. That was great.
That was a really good one.
Thanks, man.
It's like a good one.
I talk.
Oh, that good.
I'll never shut up.
No, that's good. That's a good thing.
Bye.